Hi there, I'm David Duncan and welcome to the golden years of Hollywood. Well, in this new series, I want to look at another collection of films that represent what I consider to be some of the best from Hollywood's golden age. And we begin with a film that is largely forgotten today, but deserves recognition as being the first film directed by that eccentric millionaire, Howard Hughes. Taking 3 years to film and costing a reported $4 million, that it included breathtaking aerial sequences which are still amazing to watch today, Hell's Angels ranks as being one of the most ambitious films of the early sound era. Set just before the outbreak of World War I, the story centres around two brothers, Monty and Roy, played by Ben Lyon and James Hall, who are on holiday in Germany with a friend called Carl, played by John Darrow. All three are studying at Oxford University. However, Carl is a native Bavarian and takes pride in showing off his home country to his friends.
Well, Roy, you seem to like my country.
Like it? I think it's marvelous. See, I wish we were staying here 2 years instead of just 2 weeks. But you know, Carl, it does sound funny hearing you call it your country. I keep forgetting you're not English.
Sometimes I feel almost English.
Well,
myself.
that's natural. After all, you can't be at Oxford 3 years without feeling slightly British. I say, Monty, why do you bring around this sword?
Bring her? Good heavens, I can't get rid of her.
Now, Monty's very much a womanizer and gets involved with the wife of a German colonel that leads to serious consequences.
Charming.
Challenged to a duel, Monty sees no problem at all in running away back to England. However, Roy feels that honour must be served, so accepts the duel on his brother's behalf.
Right. Verwundung dort.
Back at Oxford, we find that Roy was only shot in the arm and is recovering well. Unfortunately, war is declared and Carl is recalled back to Germany to enlist, much to his distress.
It's terrible.
Carl, you won't have to go, will you?
Me? Oh, Roy, I hope not. Oh, they can't want me. I'm not a soldier. What use would I be to them? I couldn't kill anyone. They couldn't make me do that, could they, Roy?
Oh, I think it'll all be over in a couple of weeks.
I'm not so sure.
The brothers join the Royal Flying Corps, and it's at this time that Roy is keen to catch up with his girlfriend, Helen, played by Jean Harlow, in her first starring role. Proud to show off his girlfriend, Roy tries to get Monty to meet her, but he's not at all interested, thinking she'll just be the boring intellectual type. However, upon meeting Helen at a party, there's an instant attraction between the two of them, and we learn pretty quickly that Helen is anything but virtuous.
Oh, Helen, this is Monty.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Well, that's done at last. You know, you two have been avoiding each other for weeks.
From this point on, it cuts to the action, where we see Carl is now on board a German Zeppelin, which is en route to London to drop a bomb on Trafalgar Square. As he's in charge of lining up the target, he gives false coordinates to the captain that results in the bombs dropping harmlessly into the Thames, and thus avoiding any real damage.
Perfect. Schuss direkt auf Trafalgar Square.
By this time, however, the British planes, which include Monty and Roy, then target the Zeppelin, which, without their knowledge, leads to Carl's death, but also to a spectacular sequence in which one of the British pilots flies his plane into the Zeppelin, ultimately causing its destruction.
Roy, it's falling. Look out! Run!
With the brothers now based in France awaiting their next command, Roy grows increasingly disturbed by Helen's carefree behaviour as she serves the men at the officers' canteen.
Who's that bag of wind?
Would you mind not talking about my friends like that?
Oh, now, Helen, please.
Oh, you were perfectly beastly to him.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Guess my nerves are a bit raw.
Jealousy sets in, which comes to a head just as the boys are about to fly out on an all-important mission.
Keep your filthy hands off of my girl!
Your girl, you fool! I wouldn't belong to you if you were the last man on earth. You're nothing to me, nothing.
Come on, Roy, let's get out of here.
Flying a captured German plane, the boys' mission is to fly undetected into enemy territory and bomb a munitions depot. However, once they destroy the target, their cover will be exposed and they will most certainly be shot down. It's a risky mission, which they pull off successfully, but end up in a race to escape the enemy aircraft. Now this leads to some of the best aerial sequences ever shot, as it was all filmed using real bombs and planes.
Hey, Roy, look. They've been our right motor. I got him.
Having survived a crash landing in enemy territory, the boys are taken prisoner and accused of being spies. However, they have one last chance to escape death. That is, they must reveal the attack plans of the British against the German lines. Now Monty is ready to reveal any information necessary to avoid the firing squad, but this unfortunately forces Roy to take drastic measures.
I want to live. You won't tell what I'll tell.
Listen, Monty!
I'll tell. Listen, let me out. I'll tell everything I know. The brigade is moving up. They're going to attack you. Oh. Marty. Oh.
I'll never tell you anything.
The film finishes with Roy being led to the firing squad, while at the same time we see the British Army is successful with their surprise attack on the battlefield. With principal photography beginning on October 31st, 1927, Hell's Angels was originally planned as a silent film. However, a year and a half into production with many key scenes shot, Hughes made the decision to release the final film as a talkie. Now this meant not only extensive reshoots, but alterations to the studio facilities to adapt it for sound. One casualty was Norwegian actress Greta Nissen, who was playing the role of Helen. Her accent made it impossible to continue, so Jean Harlow was brought in despite her limited acting ability. Now whilst Howard Hughes was the director of the film, he felt he didn't have the experience to oversee the scenes that involved dialogue, so hired a young director called James Whale for the job. Now Whale had only directed stage actors, but quickly adapted to the new medium of film, and went on to great success after Hell's Angels by directing Journey's End and his most famous film, Frankenstein. Hell's Angels is also notable for including a sequence in colour. Now, Technicolor is remembered today as the company that succeeded in bringing colour to motion pictures, but in 1930 there were other companies trying to become the dominant force. Multicolor was one such company that ultimately failed, but provided the colour film that was included in Hell's Angels. Now, this sequence also provides the only colour film footage of Jean Harlow. During principal photography, Hughes, along with pilot Harry Parry, designed many of the aerial stunts for the dogfighting scenes. Pioneering aerial cinematographer Elmer Dyer captured many of the aerial scenes with Paul Mantz flying as the principal stunt pilot, who was leading the team of actual World War I pilots. Hughes himself was an accomplished aviator, personally directing the aerial scenes from overhead, using radio control to coordinate the flying maneuvers. Now, Paul Mantz considered the final aerial scene in which Roy and Monty's aircraft had to make a steep pull-out after the simulated fall far too dangerous, and reported that his pilots would not be able to do the maneuver safely. So, Howard Hughes piloted the aircraft himself, but as Mantz had predicted, he failed to pull out, crashed, and was seriously injured with a skull fracture. He spent the next few days recuperating in the hospital, where he underwent facial surgery. Unfortunately, during the film's production, 3 other aviators and a mechanic were killed, which was ultimately a heavy cost for realism. Now, not all the scenes were shot for real. The scenes with the Zeppelin were all shot in the safety of a soundstage at Metropolitan Studios in Hollywood, using a 60-foot miniature and utilizing cameras on tracking cranes, all engulfed in a cloud of chemical smoke. The end result was astonishingly effective, which still holds up today as a technical marvel.
Hell's Angels, the opening of this picture at Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood, was the biggest premiere ever seen anywhere in the world before or since. 500,000 people are lining the street. Jean Harlow.
Thank you. I would like to use this occasion to publicly thank Mr. Hughes for the opportunity he gave me.
Well, 1930 was a great year for war films, with Universal also releasing their classic All Quiet on the Western Front. Now, Hell's Angels is certainly worthy of being considered a classic in this genre. It was widely reported at the time as being one of the most expensive films ever made, with a reputed budget of $4 million. However, this appears to be a bit of a myth created by Hughes himself to publicise the film, as the accounts reveal that it actually cost $2.8 million to make. But still, in 1930 that was a huge budget for a film, so it took a while for Howard Hughes to make his money back. But he had well and truly arrived in Hollywood, where he would dabble in films and the buying of studios for the next couple of decades, before finally succumbing to mental illness. Now, in 2004, Martin Scorsese released his film The Aviator, starring Leonardo DiCaprio playing the role of Howard Hughes. It's a wonderful film that covers the making of Hell's Angels and the dedication Hughes had towards this venture and filmmaking in general. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this look back at one of the landmark films from the early sound era. I'm David Duncan. Join me next time as we look at another classic from the golden years of Hollywood.